and welcome to another video. And today, I'm going to be giving you guys a brief lesson on the history of the karate training uniform. Traditionally, it's called a dogi, but in most nowadays, it's kind of become standard to just refer to it as a gi. Which has basically become the standard, as I mentioned and just repeated on accident. But this is actually a history thing that goes back way farther than karate itself does, and at least in the modern ideals of what karate is. It comes back not to Okinawa, because in Okinawa there wasn't a standardized uniform for practice. You kind of just trained with whatever you had to wear. Especially since a lot of people were practicing in secret, so having a standardized uniform would kind of defeat the purpose. So, it actually goes back to Japan during the time of the samurai. Their unarmed combat style was jujutsu. And when it came time for them to practice, they would take off their armor to do their forms, their solo forms in their normal clothes, their hakama, and I can't remember what the top part was, but the pants were the hakamas. And then when it came time for them to practice together, in their combat drills, they would take those off and just wear the undergarments of what they would wear. So it was just cotton, cotton, clothes all together. Shorts, and I want to call it a shirt, but quite frankly, I'm not sure if that would actually be the correct terminology. But eventually, they decided to make a standardized uniform for the training as practicing jiu-jitsu became more popular. So, they made one. A jacket of bleached cotton, with multiple stitchings. The bottom half was a lattice stitching, pattern stitch, and the top one, I can't remember the exact terminology of, but it was, and all of it, this uniform was cotton. And they actually had the armpits open, which was very common for more of the traditional Japanese clothing. And of course, they had a pair of cotton shorts as well. And interestingly enough, there was no standard name for what they were. One of my favorite names for it though was monkey pants, which makes sense because you grab onto them like kind of like how a monkey would if they were climbing. And they had a string that would go through them to tie off to keep them up. So, and this would stay the standard for jujutsu practice until I believe it was the Meiji era, where Western influence was coming in, and more Westerners were even practicing jujutsu, including one famous person who would take jujutsu and then take it back to England, where he would then take that and a bunch of other styles to make a style called Bartitsu. But that's a story for another day. Anyways, because of the Western influence, it modified the clothing of Japan, but also, to an extent, but also, because more foreigners were practicing, they modified the uniform. They closed the top, stitching it at around the armpit level, around here. Partially to better mimic Western clothing so that they could get more benefit, so that people wearing that stuff could get more benefit out of the practice as well, because it was modeled to be better suited for the Japanese clothing, yes, but since the things were changing, they needed to change it as well. And also, it allowed them to show less skin, because Westerners at the time didn't like showing as much skin as the Japanese people. Which is really interesting considering nowadays it's the opposite. Anyways, so that would stay the standard for a while. Until eventually Kano, the founder of judo. That full name is Jigoro Kano, but anyway, so he got in touch with some people who were with a factory that was really good at making rice, fabrics, and they made a standardized uniform for it, for judo practice, because Kano was big on trying to spread judo as far as he could, because he believed it was an excellent means of spreading, the teachings, both, mentally, physically, and spiritually, to make society a better place. Yeah, he tried to spread it through the school system. He had his, had his places teaching it himself, all of the things. And so a standardized uniform became a necessity at that point. So they made the standardized uniform. And that would stay the same for a while until, Kano himself decided to change it. Was it a big societal difference that made things important? No, this was actually functional. You see, whenever he practiced the dropping techniques, the ones where you have to drop down to your knees to do it, like with the okay, what's a good example? Of one. I'm going to use the Taitoshi for an example because that's how I was taught to do it, to drop down to your knees when doing it, even though it's not necessary. Whenever he would drop down to his knees to do it, he would scrape them, and over time this led to very annoying injuries, every single time he practiced, because he kept scraping his knees. So he changed it to make the pants longer to go down past the knees. And what that led to was the standard judo-gi, this one here. Of course, back then, all of them were white. It wasn't until the competition that, became a major thing, that they started making ones of different colors. And the standard nowadays, and since then, has been white versus blue, such as this one. And of course, nowadays, they're highly regulated in competition because they want to keep it as fair as possible between the competitors. But, that's how judo, the dogi for judo came to be. But what about karate? Because everyone associates it with karate. Well, this predates that by a fair bit. And it wasn't until Gishin Funakoshi, the founder of Shotokan Karate, considered the father of modern karate, came from Okinawa to Japan for what was supposed to be a brief trip, but ended up being for the rest of his life. When he came here to bring karate and spread it through through all of Japan and trying to get it through the whole world himself, he was told he needed to have standardized practices for it. Those being a standardized uniform as one of the main ones. So he actually started working with Jigoro Kano because the two had great respect for each other. Kano respected Funakoshi because how heavily his teachings emphasized discipline, and Funakoshi respected Kano for his diligent teaching practices, because Kano and Funakoshi both had education backgrounds as educators. Funakoshi was a school teacher, so as a result, the two worked together really well, and helped each other. But Kano specifically helped him modify the judo dogi so that it could be better suited for karate, because he needs a standardized uniform. So let's take the one I already have made and has been developed over the course of multiple eras, and modify it so that it's better suited for your thing, which led to the karate gi. Sorry. It's made of cotton, and it's reinforced at the joints. To allow you to really abuse these things without risk of breaking them. But as for that's the same with the judo gi, because you got to be able to grab those. Otherwise, what's the point? So what are the differences between this and the judo gi? Well, these here are one of the big differences. Here, let me move in closer so you can see. These tasks, just right here, are made so that you can tie it closed. Because in karate, your belt's gonna come undone. That's just a fact. Especially if you got a newer belt, because those are all stiff and they come undone really easily. Heck, I've had my current belt. I'm a green belt for almost 2 years, I think, and it's still really stiff to the point of where I can't keep it tied for long if I'm doing too much. So these ties were put in place so that it would stay closed and just keep everything a bit more convenient. You can't do that with a judo gi because they'll just be ripping open constantly. And you'll have to keep sewing them back on, and eventually they just won't stay on. And then another big difference is the actual thickness of it. Here, I'll actually show you a close-up of the sleeves real quick. Yeah, this is how thick the judo gi is at the edge of the sleeve. And I'd say it's roughly about an eighth of an inch thick, I believe. This is how thick the karate gi is. It's a lot more thin than the judo gi is. Unless, of course, you get one of the heavyweight gis. I actually never really have had a chance to work with one of those, so not sure how the difference in thickness. But the reason why they're thinner and lighter is because of the different nature of the styles. Doing karate in a really thick uniform will make the movements harder. And of course, you want it to be lighter so that you can handle the movements better, especially back then because you were doing a whole lot. So eventually that would become an issue. And also, I'm not sure if this was a key concern, but when you get a really good snap on a technique, wearing a karate gi, you'll get that really loud crack at the end of it, but you can't get that with a judo gi. So, in terms of just aesthetics, the judo gi is behind on that front. But that being said, I'm not sure if that was actually a concern. And now, the karate gi, as much as people associate it like that, it has gone through changes. And now, I could go into say how it changed and how it was adapted when it was taken to Korea, but at that point it wasn't really karate. It became either taekwondo, tang soo do, or hapkido. I think. Does hapkido use the do box? Yeah, either way. And because it wasn't, and not only was it not karate at that point, but the uniform itself wasn't the do-gi, it was the dobak. So, what am I going to talk about? Well, how about when karate was brought to America? You see, America, a fair bit of stuff was changed in karate when it was brought to America. But one of the things that's most commonly associated as being an American change is that the gi isn't as standardized anymore with its color. This is actually the gi that I wear. It's a black gi. You can you will get people who mix and match the colors. Occasionally you'll see a red gi, maybe a gray one, I remember, one of my old instructors would wear a red gi top with gray gi pants. So the colors aren't as standardized anymore. And you'll see it in plenty of places, but a lot of people will sew patches onto their gi. That's not really a standardized thing. I mean, you'll see places doing it, but I think it's less common these days. But but the color itself, is an interesting change because it does serve a purpose, and technically you could originate it to Okinawa. You see, the reason that I personally wear a black gi is because it's easier to keep clean. Not only do you not see wrinkles as well in it, but the primary thing is stuff like dirt, blood, and sweat just don't show up all that much on black when compared to white. especially the blood, because you will bleed in class. So that's the main reason for the color. And technically, there was an Okinawan style. It was a style of kabuto. The school's name escapes me at the moment, but they actually wear a black gi top, with the white gi pants. Now, why do they do that? For the same reason. When you're doing kabuto, there is a good chance that stuff like dirt and grime is going to get on your gi top. So it will be a pain to get that stuff out. Yes, if you're wearing white. So they wore black gi top because it's easier to keep clean. Same reason we do. And of course, they do kind of look cool. Funnily enough, at my school, a black gi has become the standard. When I tried to go back to wearing a white gi, I got this one, and I was actually people started making jokes because I was the only one wearing the white gi and how I was ruining the symmetry. Now, admittedly, I stopped wearing it, not because of the jokes, but because I got the wrong size. It's actually an issue with buying new gis. The sizing is weird, at least from all the places that I've bought them. They go based off of weight rather than stuff like height and sizes. However, the gi is still a very common standardized uniform for karate. You do occasionally see people, see classes where they don't wear it though. And heck, at my school personally, we do occasionally do classes where we don't wear the gi and just wear the stuff that we came in, specifically to get us more used to being able to do the karate stuff in our normal clothes. Now, admittedly, for me, that isn't really much of an issue because I always wear my gi over the clothes I came in. Because I always wear my gi over the clothes I came in, partially because I don't want to actually have to change out of my clothes, but also because, well, it saves a little time getting in and leaving. Even if so I can just get in, take my shoes and socks off, take my glasses off, put my gi on, and then boom, I'm ready to go to get into the class. Of course, if I'm wearing a white shirt, that's very convenient. Yeah, but you might in a lot of schools, if you're wearing anything other than a white shirt under your gi, that can be an issue. But of course, you probably want to wear a shirt under your gi anyway if you're anyway, but preferably a non-colored one. But if it's a solid color like white, black, or something like that, or even just any other solid color, it should be fine. It usually will just come down to school culture more than anything. But with that being said, for the most part, I believe we've covered the history of the dogi, dating all the way back to the I think it was the Meiji era, that I talked about first, all the way to the modern day in American karate. Now, I will say, I probably got some stuff wrong since I'm going off of memory here. So if you got any, if you noticed any point where I was wrong in the story, let me know in the comments, and heck, you might even get a shout out in the next video I do. And of course, if you guys have any videos you'd like me to do in the future, maybe even more history of karate stuff, let me know in the comments below, and I might just do it. So, without further ado, thank you all very much for watching. This is Randoman, signing off.